Alright, so now I'm going to come up here to the better pushback 0.45, and I'm going to pre-plan. And because of X-Plane 10's ground handling situation, I am just going to do a pushback straight. How does that sound?
You can do a gentle turn.
A gentle turn.
Just don't put in a very tight turn.
Let's do that. And on the next flight, you guys will hear sounds, but right now I accidentally have them off for my streaming PC, so I have to restart X-Plane after this flight to get sounds back. But remember to do the joystick while in cruise. Okay. I think you have to wait until it says flap open. Okay. Would that be? We should test that. So he's saying if you put the master switch on, that down below it'll say flap open, and then you can hit the start button.
It will say flap open, but you can push the start button even before that. The delay is approximately, I keep forgetting if it's 2 or 3 seconds. It's for the ECB, the electronic control box, for the APU to finish its boot up process. The flap opening for the APU intake takes a little bit longer than that, and that's fine. You don't have to wait for that. That takes approximately 10 seconds.
Okay.
You just have to wait for the ECB to actually finish the boot up process, because otherwise, when you push the actual APU start button, it's not going to go anywhere. The ECB is still not processing that signal.
Okay. Oh, look at this.
Oh my, indeed.
All right, continuing on. I digress. Okay, so pushback. So we're going to come up here through the better pushback plugin, and we're going to hit start pushback. Start pushback. Yeah, this X-Plane community, I love the diverse opinions. All right, parking brake coming off. Pushback is starting, and that looks good. I'm going to turn this engine on just for a little bit, or the mode selector. So is the situation that some of you can get to this link and some cannot, or can everyone get to that link? All right, that's coming on. We'll start number 2. So number 2, wait, PAX off. PAX off.
You don't have to turn up PAX off on an Airbus.
Okay, I'm going to turn the PAX back on. And I'm going to go boom on. And we're going to make sure that is started. Yep, it's starting up. Cool. All right, let's look at this better pushback in all its glory. Oh, you get the modest price of $320K? Okay. Oh, Cessna Rocks bought it? Oh, cool, cool, cool. If you're eligible, you can buy it. Nice. So my question to you, Cessna Rocks, is, do you have do you have the V1 and the V2 of the 757, as well as the 76? Maybe is that what qualified you? I'm just curious. Yes, Phil's Fat Man. This is the you're seeing. This is 0.45 of the better pushback plugin. Io Scotsman made the purchase. There you go. Okay, disconnect and go to hand signals. All right.
Don't worry, we'll get the sounds online for the next leg of the flight. This is not the first one. So don't worry, guys. You will have sounds later today, shortly.
Yeah. All right, so we have engine start there. We'll start number 1. The tug is disconnecting.
And for those of you who are going to be trying the airplane out now, that already have access to it, please try it out on X-Plane 1105 or X-Plane 1050. Do not try it out right now on the X-Plane 1110 beta. That one is unfortunately all kinds of messed up, not due to our fault, but probably because Laminar did so many changes that we still need a little bit of time to stabilize it. And Laminar is still hard at work on 1110, so there's a lot of changes that are going into that.
They just removed it from the store.
Okay. Cessna Rocks, did you not read how to beta test guide from Laminar? You're supposed to keep 2 copies of X-Plane. That's why the installer even allows you to do that.
I actually have 3 or 4.
Well, there you go.
I'm going back
from John.
I'm going 11. I got 11, 1105, 1105 beta 4. I got
I find it extremely telling how Laminar worded, how Ben or whoever wrote that post worded that if you're planning to beta test X-Plane and fly it at the same time for enjoyment, for your sanity's sake, keep a second copy of the thing.
Okay, so I'm going back to normal on the engine start switch, and I'm going to arm spoilers. Pulling that up. I'm going to set the trim. Today's trim is a little bit different than yesterday's trim, and that is 0.5. So I'm going to bring this up halfway between 0 and 1.
0.5 down, by the way.
Oh, yeah, down. Sorry, 0.5 down. Big difference. All right, there's 0.5 down on the trim. Let's hope TopCat is correct. If it's not, it's just going to be, the rotation will be just a little bit later, right?
You're going to have to basically put in a little bit of extra effort on the stick, but ultimately the airplane will retrim itself.
Okay, flaps are coming down to 1, and flight controls are checked. I'm looking at the E-cam down here. I'll move this over just a bit so we can watch the joystick at the same time. There we go. Left aileron, right aileron, back elevators, forward elevators, and we got rudder control. Flight controls are checked. So did they take it off the org, or is that just me that saw that they took it off the org? It's not on the store anymore. Auto brake is going to max, and APU bleed is coming off, and APU master switch is off. I'm going to now go ahead and start my taxi light coming on. I don't think you can revert back to a stable one. Can you? If you don't have a copy of it?
No, I think the only way is to install a second copy.
Yeah. Just so easy. That's the beauty of X-Plane. It's so portable. You can copy just the directory. I don't copy my custom scenery over there. I just back up everything except for aircraft and custom scenery, and occasionally I'll back up aircraft separately. It's really easy. All right, taxi light on the nose light's coming on. Runway turnoff lights are on. All right, let's taxi. Auto brake to Cirrus Max. That's right. How are you doing, Pedro? You can untick beta and update? Oh. Really? I've never tried that. So you're saying I could go back to 11.05 if I untick beta and then update? Interesting. All right, let's take a look at the for-flight chart. Over here we got a taxi diagram. We're going to take off at runway 4, so it's a pretty simple taxi out here to Lima 2, Lima to Alpha to runway 4. All right, that's good news. So you can untick the beta and then do that. Okay. But you may as well copy your beta over somewhere or reinstall a beta somewhere else so you can run both. So beautiful. Such a beautiful aircraft. Are you the only one who doesn't opt into betas? I really like 11.10 for a lot of reasons, but it comes with a few things that I don't like, but they're going to fix. Okay, I'm going to turn left here on Lima. Are you doing the same flight at the same time, Sato?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You just had your McDo up?
I didn't. I don't have a simulator running right now.
Oh, okay. Great to see you, Pedro, flying this bird. Great to see you flying this bird, John. Happy landings. Ignore the naysayers. Got to run, amigo. We look forward to catching the odd. All right, Pedro down. Thank you, my European X-Plane brother. What don't you like about 11.10? 11.10 is great with so many things, but, well, come to think of it, I think it's that really, I'm not sure if it's, there's some new planes that are trying, so I need to isolate whether or not it's the plane that's causing the issue that I'm having or if it's X-Plane. So I won't lay blame quite yet, but the truth is that we have the simulator with X-Plane that is the most updated, most regularly updated sim on the planet, it feels like. And the developers are regularly updating. I love the fact that even when we encounter situations, it seems like we get responses. So that's really good. So I'll try to summarize my feelings on 11.10. But CDOG, I won't run anything but 11.10 right now because, well, two reasons. One, I want to just be there to see what's going on, and two, that Laminar G1000 is, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But apparently it breaks add-ons, Dr. Nerd Rage says. It hasn't broken any add-ons for me yet, but I haven't encountered. What are some 11 point? I mean, obviously, better pushback plugin has a little bit of conflict, right, with 11.10 because of the ground handling changes. But we use better pushback plugin today with 11.10, so we just made it. We did some simple turns. Where can you get liveries? They're just 4 in the folder. I think that I don't know if they're going to release all of their liveries as a separate payware pack or not.
The separate liveries are going to be sold for $1 a pop.
Okay.
On the ARC store.
Okay, $1 a pop. There you go. Good info. Good morning, Ham I Am. Good morning, Cajun Cacti. DMB Bird, hello, hello. HD Hunter. Who's beta testing on OS? On OS 10? I don't know. Is it even available on Mac for beta?
It's not. The beta is initially limited to Windows only because that's the easiest one for us to debug. It's basically we're trying to keep everybody on as much the same setup as possible for the initial part of the beta before we start introducing more variables and more complications.
Looks like a cert said it was a bug during the sales presentation. Nothing bad. A few users purchased the product by mistake. Huh. I believe you'll be able to have like a Cessna Rocks be able to do liveries, no problem. I don't know if there are plans for a paint kit.
Yeah, the paint kit will be made available.
Okay, so we're at the runway. So now I'm going to go ahead. I should have done this before I entered the runway, but I'm going to turn on my TARA. And you said to turn the threat to all.
Yes. Well, you can do that at the gate as well. That's just the display filter.
Yeah, Lex, we thought of the same thing at the same time, yeah.
And also put takeoff config test. You want to run that.
Okay.
And of course, turn on your lighty lights.
Yeah, we're not there yet. I was just reading some of the stuff going on, having fun. Okay, so strobes on, wing light on, nose light to taxi, landing lights on. And go down here and takeoff config test. Yep, we're good. All right, do you see anything that we're missing before our takeoff?
Let's go over to the overhead. I have a little bit of a delay on the stream there. So one of the easiest ways to check basically that you've got everything that you need is to just open up the checklist and look in there. So open the table. There you got your takeoff checklist and run that. That's what the checklists are for.
No, but there's a lot of things that we did in order to take off, and they're not here.
Of course, this is just a sort of recapitulation of the most important points.
Yeah.
So if you have those, you're not going to crash. Basically, that's the point of it.
All right, so we got auto brake max. That's checked. We got signs on. Let's double check that. Signs are on. We've got flaps are. Let's check the flaps. Flaps takeoff config. Flaps 1. Yep. Okay. Do the people that the few people that were able to buy, do they get to keep it?
I don't know. I don't control the store.
No, I was just asking like a general question. Okay, in this case, we're gonna try that procedure. That's the real world procedure. So we're gonna go to was it 50% before I go full toga?
So let's talk through the takeoff here a little bit.
Okay.
When you normally it's called a run-up. The reason for the run-up is because the engines develop so much thrust that in case one of the engines does not come up in thrust and it basically stays down, you're going to get pushed off into the weeds really, really quickly before you can sort of start compensating for that, especially on a slippery runway, just basically spinning around. So that's why you put them up about halfway, and only after you've basically seen that they're stable, that's when you apply full power. Once you get rolling, you're not yet committed to a takeoff, obviously. As you pass 100 knots on an Airbus, it's customary to call out. It's on most procedures is to call out 100 knots, That means that you have transitioned from the low speed abort regime into the high speed abort regime. So if, for instance, you have some sort of a problem with the airplane within the low speed regime for any kind of problem, normally you would stop, like any bing, any bong, anything in the cabin, any light coming on, you would basically abort the takeoff just to be safe.
Okay.
In the high speed regime, the airplane has so much energy, and stopping on a very short runway would put so much heat into the brakes that you could potentially cause damage to the airplane that way. So that's why pilots will generally start to reduce, the captains will generally start to really, really quickly reduce in mentally the list of things for which they will stop up until V1. So at that point, usually in the high speed regime, they'll only stop for major problems. Things like, for instance, having an engine fire warning, having an engine failure, having the airplane sort of start giving you terrible vibration, indicating that there might be a problem. That kind of thing is what you will generally only consider aborting for in the high speed regime. Past V1, you're committed. So at that point, it's no more going back.
Okay.
A high speed reject, generally, most airlines will be go minded. They will not try to stop once they are past in the high speed regime or close to V1. The reason for that being is that if you abort at that kind of speed, especially when the airplane is fully fueled or you go in, a very far distance, the amount of energy that you put into the brakes will heat them up so much that it's possible that the airplane, for instance, will have a tire blowout when you either stop on the runway, you taxi off the runway or onto a taxiway. You can easily have tire explosions at that point, or a wheel well or a wheel fire, but necessitating obviously a full rescue response, which is a much worse situation than potentially taking some minor problem into the air with you. So that's why generally most airlines will be go-minded. So
Mm.
once past V1, you want to smoothly, I'm sorry, once past rotation speed, you want to smoothly pull back on the stick. Usually about a half deflection is enough. And you will want to start lifting the nose up at approximately 3 degrees a second. So that means that 10-degree mark that you see on the PFD there, it'll take you approximately 3 to 4 seconds to reach that. Once you reach it, don't stop pulling back. Keep pulling back. Sometimes you need to pull back a little bit harder. The airplane will lift off at around 7 to 8 degrees nose up. Keep pulling back until you reach about 15 to 17 degrees nose up. So about halfway between the 10 and 20 mark is when you want to sort of stop pulling back and you want to straighten the sort of keep that pitch attitude. That's a good initial first segment climb rotation. Then you basically want to keep it there until you reach 1,500 feet above field elevation. In your case, that's 2,500 feet here. I think I'd have to look at your exact values there in the MCDU, but it's about 2,500 feet. Basically, keep the 15 degrees nose up. Just put the gear up once you've got positive rate of climb, and then let it be. Just keep that up. You can engage the autopilot if you feel you're coming up, if you feel you're overloaded in terms of workload. Feel free to engage the autopilot, and from there on, just leave the airplane be. Once it reaches 2,500 feet, it'll start giving you thrust climb on the PFD. That's when you pull your power back into the climb detent. Use that control 5 sort of throttle display so that you can easily see when you're in the climb detent. The airplane will pitch down on its own on the autopilot down to about 10 to 9 degrees nose up, and it'll start accelerating. Once you're past the S mark on the speed tape, that's when you can pull flaps to 0. And from there on, you're cleaned up. You can do your after takeoff flow. So nose wheel light and runway turn-off lights off. Disarm the ground spoilers, and basically, if you've got packs off, at that point you would turn them on.
Okay.
But this is the sort of general procedure. So rotate 15 degrees nose up, and just gear up, and don't do anything other than, and just keep that nose up attitude until you reach 2,500 feet.
Okay, that is a lot of great information. Did I retain all of it for this particular takeoff? I don't know. But what I'm going to concentrate on this roll is I'm going to go toga. I'm then going to on that takeoff. I'm going to try to keep it going up. I really am not going to count off the seconds, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry. I'm going to look at that 10 degree and I'm going to say, okay, I don't want to necessarily level off here. I need to keep back pressure going up to about 15 to 17 degrees. And then once I get to, let's just go ahead and kind of plan this out. When I get up to 1,500 feet or more, I'm then going to switch it to climb thrust power.
Yeah, I think 2,500 feet for you here is acceleration because you're up at, I think, 1,000 feet above sea level here, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. So let's check the perf page. Yeah, sorry, 2460. So about 2,500, I'm going to go to thrust climb power.
Yes.
At that point, I'm going to also raise the flaps.
You should raise the flaps. No, you raise the flaps once the speed passes the S mark on the speed
S
tape.
mark, sorry. Okay. So yesterday's thrust reduction altitude kind of was close to the raising of the flaps, but in this case, because we're 1,000 AGL, we need to go a little bit earlier. Okay.
It's always the reduction part is always calculated from the field elevation. So
Okay.
it's always 1,500 feet above field elevation. Of
1,500
course, you can plug in
above.
other numbers depending on your regulations and stuff like that.
Okay. And then
For
this
many
time,
European airlines, it's actually 3,000.
all right. And I'm going to get off of the plan, off the plan. I'm going to go back to Rose nav, and then flight director's on. I think we're ready to go.
Cool.
Just a last minute check of. Oh, I do need to. While we're on the ground, just so the immersion's not ruined on our landing, I'm going to go over to the joystick, and I'm going to toggle my. There's speed brakes full. Okay, reversers. Okay, hold thrust reverse at max. I want to change that to reverse toggle. Toggle thrust reversers, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Toggle thrust reversers. And then, because apparently that max doesn't work, but you'd think that the hold thrust reverse at max would work, but I guess it doesn't toggle them.
The reason for that is that the airplane has so much custom logic built into it that really what you're doing here, the A320 here is kind of a special model in that it does not use almost any X-plane built-in handling and physics. So rather, what we're doing here is we're just picking up these commands that you're putting in, and we're translating them into the internal flight and engine model. So it's almost like this airplane is sort of a foreign beast that's just living inside X-plane, just as your sort of display interface.
Okay. All right. You had a question in the chat. Someone was saying, Stu says he's never done an aborted takeoff. What is the actual procedure? Reverse and brake, or just reverse, which will deploy the spoilers?
For a aborted takeoff, all you'd have to do is take the thrust levers down to idle. Even without deploying reverse, the ground spoilers should deploy. It is customary also to as well deploy reverse, maximum reverse, in the real airplane, of course, when rejecting a takeoff.
Okay. Sorry, I'm missing some of the chat. We got a lot of people in here. Coming up to the 300 again here pretty soon, I think. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to try to do a better rotation this time. Here we go. I really like the flex takeoff for some reason, but because Full Toga's in the chat, we're going to do it. Richie D Gaming, thank you for the host. Thank you, man. How you doing, man? Eric, Chief Lynn, Captain Oblivious, Voluto, K-Bell. Hello, guys.